Hi, my name is Karen, and I'm an American lay student of Ajahn Suchart, or Ajahn Suchart Abhijato, who's given me his permission to read his books to you for free. Ajahn Suchart's books and talks are always free. Any ads you may see or hear in this recording have been put there by the platform you are using to listen or view with for its own revenue, in exchange for letting us use their platform for free. Please forgive me for any mispronunciations of names or words or places, and for any background noises, as I'm just making these recordings in my apartment with an unruly dog and in the middle of a city. This recording is the final recording in the reading of Beyond Birth, Ajahn Suchart Abhijato, an autobiography, published December 2021. The next section begins on page 300 and is titled, I Stay the Same. I never did announce myself to the public. People just came to see me. I remain the same, not doing anything more. Nowadays, I am satisfied with the way that I am. I have noted that many teachers have done a lot of good for more people, and I sometimes think that it was a good thing to do, but I do not want to make an effort to do the same. I let things move naturally, and when the time comes, it might happen. Look at Luangta. At the time when I was at Wat Tad, he did not announce himself, and people were not visiting him much. He always chased people away, scolding them, so they were afraid of him. People would go to visit the monasteries where Venerable Ajahn Kao, Venerable Ajahn Phun, and Venerable Ajahn Tate resided. Later, when these teachers were gone, Luangta became more relaxed and didn't scold people as much, so they came back to pay respects to him. Later on, he also gave Dhamma talks to the lay people at Swan Sengdam. Luangta started off focusing on monks and novices, because they were the future religious force of Dhamma teaching. He also saw that there were several teachers who helped the lay people already. He would mainly produce Dhamma publications and taught monks and novices. Only meditation practitioners who could withstand his strict and stern teaching method and harsh words would benefit from his teaching during that time. Afterwards, though, he changed. He was more open with his kindness to unlimited numbers of people. At Bantad, he used to limit the number of monks and novices under his tutelage to 20, but later he accepted 25, 30, 40, or even 50 of them. As for lay disciples, there used to be 7 or 8 people helping in the kitchen only. Later, however, that number reached hundreds. It is hard to imagine how they could manage that crowded condition. Before, he had not wanted it to be that way. He wanted to have an atmosphere of solitude. Each person had their own kuti. Later, the temple was packed with kutis. This was because he wanted to help everyone. Although the atmosphere was not tranquil and not so suitable for meditation, at least those who could make merit, listen to Dhamma talks, and keep the precepts could do so. The next section begins on page 302 and is titled, Not Accepting Invitations. The reason why I do not want to accept any invitations is because they are a waste of time. It is mostly a ceremonial type of invitation, nothing substantial. I used to accept such invitations because I could not turn them down. It was a function such as a house blessing. Upon my arrival, there would be 2 to 3 older people who listened to the chanting. The younger people would be busy greeting guests. They did not listen to the chanting or to the Dhamma talks, so I felt that it had no benefit. You go to chant. The people listening don't understand it. They just think that it's a necessary part of the event to give it a lucky aura. That's it. So for their housewarming party, they'll invite monks to come chant, sprinkle some holy water, and draw holy marks on the house. That's it. It's just a ritual, nothing substantive. What the monks do is similar to performing a musical folk drama. Really, it's not auspicious. The only thing auspicious might be the fact that the ceremony offered an opportunity for them to make merit by donating money and preparing a meal for the monks. This type of merit can be earned in other ways, such as offering alms to the monks. You do not need to waste your time inviting the monks and then picking them up for chanting. Actually, the chanting can be done by just anybody, not just by monks, because saying a prayer is a training to keep your thoughts on the good path. When you are worried or harbor unwholesome thoughts, you should chant, and your worries and bad thoughts will disappear. So to invite monks to come to chant, for only 2 or 3 elderly people to listen, while the energetic younger people are busy chatting and entertaining guests, and another group of people are busy preparing food in the kitchen, and when the chanting ends, food is offered to the monks, and the monks give a blessing and then return to the temple, this is all an act of futility. In the Buddha's day, the Lord was invited to give talks. The invitation would be for a meal, and then to give a talk on the Dhamma afterwards. The delivery of the Dhamma talk is the auspicious part, because the Dhamma is the light that shines into our lives, which are clouded by delusion, so that we can differentiate between good and evil, right and wrong. The Lord Buddha accepted those invitations in order to deliver Dhamma to the people. If it were only for chanting and no one was going to listen, he would probably not go, because nothing beneficial would come of it. Meditation monks will usually not accept such invitations. However, sometimes it is difficult to turn down an invitation due to the relationship with the host or to preserve goodwill. Monks are glad to attend if the laity will go and listen to the Dhamma. So the monks would then go and give a Dhamma talk to such lay people. The next section begins on page 304 and is titled, My Mother's Passing. My mother became ill and had to undergo a heart operation. Believe it or not, I did not go to visit her at the hospital. I asked my sister to bring her a telephone so I could talk to her. If I were to pay her a visit at the hospital, I would not have been able to talk with her as intimately as talking to her by phone. So we had our visits talking on the phone because we could talk longer and more comfortably. My mother passed away on January 18, 2019. On the day she died, they arranged for a car to come and pick her up to go and have her hair done. When the car arrived, my mother told the driver that she had changed her mind and did not want to go because she wanted to rest. My sister returned home in the evening from an errand and saw that my mother was sleeping. When she tried to wake her up, she was not successful, so she called for an ambulance. When the rescue unit arrived, they gave her CPR, but they could not revive her. My sister then called me, and I told her to stop the CPR and to let our mother go. The rescuers told us that my mother passed away 1 hour before they arrived. My mother died in her sleep without suffering. I am the one who selected my mother's portrait displayed at the funeral. I chose the picture of her just returning from her birthday party. My mother had prepared a different picture for her funeral. It was a picture taken 20 years ago. I selected a more current picture, and she was wearing a red outfit, which is the favorite color of the Chinese people. At my mother's funeral, I just sat through the ceremony. Everyone who went helped out with the work, even though there were no announcements or calls for assistance. There were many people, but there were no problems with getting in one another's way. Everything went well. There is a quote on page 305. I am satisfied with this body and am grateful to my mother for giving it to me. There is a quote on page 306. Wherever there are already publications of the teacher, Luangta Mahabua, it is not appropriate to take publications from his disciple, because things are already illuminated. He is like sunlight, whereas mine is like moonlight or starlight. However, if the place is still so dark, even starlight such as this can be sufficient and beneficial. The next section begins on page 307, and this is going to be the end of the book, I believe, followed by some quotes I'll read to you. So on 307, this section is titled, The Origin of the Dhamma Books. During the initial period of my giving Dhamma talks at the dining sala, there was no taping of the talks. Later, a disciple who was a nurse at Wat Yann's hospital came to listen to the talk, liked it, and took some notes. The notes were given to me to review. I checked the notes and said, "The talk I gave was long. Why are the notes so short? It is not complete. Why don't you bring a recorder to record the talk?" At that time, there were only cassette tape recorders. So she brought one and recorded the talk. She placed the recorder next to where she sat, which was not close to me. That resulted in the recorded talk coming across as not clear, full of echoing sounds and background noise. Therefore, the recording talks could not be used for distribution. Later on, there was a change. We placed the recorder close to me, and a small microphone was added to magnify the sound. Later, the director of the hospital allowed us to use the computer in his office. I transferred the tape from the cassette into a file on the computer. I spent 2 or 3 days a week in that room at the hospital to transcribe the talks. Later, they were put into publication. People who read that really liked it. So Gamlang Jai, the first Dhamma book, was born. A list of people who donated the money to publish the first book was included at the end. That inspired people to continue to donate more for the project. Now we have published 3 or 4 books annually. Chula Dhamma Namjai was added to be the 16th book of Gamlang Jai, because Chula Dhamma Namjai books were published as limited editions to give to specific groups of people. Sometime later, the person who allowed me to use the computer room moved to another hospital, so I had to return the room to the person who took over. However, a room in the basement of the Supreme Patriarch's building at Wat Yan was available for our work because Somdet did not come for visits during that time. I used that room to transcribe the tape and proofread the books. The Chula Dhamma Namjai book was published by a group of disciples who came from Bangkok to listen to the Dhamma talk since June 2005. It is a compilation of the once-a-month afternoon Dhamma talk at the Chula Sala on Chion Mountain. The emphasis of the talks is on Dhamma practice and meditation. The first Dhamma on the mountain was published in 2014, 1 year after the taping of the talk on Chion Mountain on March 31, 2013. The emphasis of these Dhamma talks was on meditation practice. They were given to the devoted group of lay people who came to listen every Saturday, Sunday, and holidays. The talks were also recorded and uploaded on Facebook and my website afterwards, on the same day of the talks. After that, a group of devoted disciples asked for permission to publish more volumes of the Dhamma talks in several languages, such as in Thai, English, Chinese, French, Portuguese, and Indonesian, in order to make the teachings accessible to people who spoke those languages. The books are given for free, and many can be downloaded from the website prasuchart.com, www.prasuchart.com. And I'll read the quotes at the end of the book that are interspersed throughout the photo gallery. There's a quote on page 311. "My routine has always been going out for morning alms, eating the meal, and resting after that. The afternoon is devoted to talking with the laity. This has been my routine for several years. It is a workable and comfortable routine for me." There's a quote on page 323. "I have stayed at this temple for 30-some years and have never gone anywhere. I am comfortable and without any complaints here. There is no need for a visa, a passport, a physical checkup, or immunization shots. These things are just chaos. I have received many invitations to go abroad, such as to India, Singapore, and Indonesia. I told them not to bother inviting me because I am not going anywhere." There is a quote on page 329 with a header that says, "Dhamma in front of the kuti." "I would like to announce that at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, every Saturday, Sunday, national holiday, and observance day, there will be a Dhamma talk. The exception might be because of a conflict of schedule or illness. Whether the talk will be long or short depends on the audience's capacity to absorb the talk. If someone brings only a small container, they can only take home so much. In the book on page 340, toward the end of the book, there is a flyer for the Purhu YSS 80 school, which is a school for boys registered under the foundation of Wat Yannasangwararam, and their website is www.phurhu.ac.th. The Facebook page for the school is called Friends of Purhu School YSS 80. And again, that's Friends of Purhu is spelled Phurhu, School YSS, just the letters YSS, and then the number 80. There's a quote on page 344. I am happy that I have an opportunity to do something that brings benefit to the people and enables them to gain benefit from meditation practices as taught by the Lord Buddha. There is another quote on page 347. I never laid out a plan or my life's goal. My future is open-ended. That is, I have no future plan, no goal in life. My destination is the coffin. How I get there is another matter. I will let circumstances take me along and will use Dhamma for consideration as appropriate. On page 348 is the list of the daily schedule for the monks. And finally, on the back cover of the book is the final quote from Ajahn Suchart Abhijato, and it says, I use my peace of mind as a gauge in measuring things in life. If I felt stressed or miserable, I knew that what I was doing or have done was not right. So I had to find a way to correct it. Whatever we have gained would be lost in the long run. The more we gain, the more we will lose. If we gain nothing, we will lose nothing. This is because all things are temporary. We all will eventually leave this earth. There is no room for regrets, since this is not the only time that we leave this earth. We've left these bodies of ours millions of times already. If we think this way, we will have no regrets. This is because what remains is our mind. We will never lose it. It will never be gone. The only thing is whether our mind will have quality or not, be smart or stupid. If the mind is clever, it will not carry any burden. If it is stupid, it will carry a load, a pile of dukkha. Anything that we call ours will always give us suffering. If we claim nothing as ours, then we can have peace. And that concludes the reading of Beyond Birth, Ajahn Suchart Abhijato, an autobiography, published December 2021. It's been my pleasure to read this book for you. I hope you've enjoyed it. Until next time, with metta. Bye-bye.